Next, we are going to configure the settings files of our project. Back to our guides. Instead of configuring the environment variables from the settings.py, we will configure them from the .env file. So move back to your app server terminal. I will list all the content in the project directory. Make a copy of this file .env.example into .env, or simply rename it to .env. I will make the copy with this command: cp.env.example space .env, ls again, and there is the environment file .env. Next, we are going to edit the file to supply values for our environment variables. To edit the file, I will run nano.env. For the secret key, we need to generate one for this project on the production server. I would go to Google and search for generate Django's secret key. I will choose this link from miniweb2.com. Feel free to choose anyone. I will click this button to generate the secret key. I would copy the key, move back to my terminal and paste next to the secret underscore key variable. For allowed underscore host, you need to put all IP addresses and host names that you want to associate with this application and separate each value with a comma. I will put the IP address of this production server, the host name that I want to later attach to this IP address, which is polling.test. In a real-life project, it will be a domain name. Next, we will configure the database connection settings. For DB engine, we are using PostgreSQL, so replace SQLite 3 with PostgreSQL. For DB name, I will put PollingDB, the database that I created for the project. For DB user, I will put polling user, the user created to administer the PollingDB. For the password, I will put the polling user's password, password 2020. For DB host, I will put localhost because the database resides on this server. For DB port, I will put the default for PostgreSQL, which is 5432. Save the file. Ctrl+X, Y for yes, press enter to close the file. Next, we need to install the dependencies required for the application to run. They are listed in the requirements.txt file. As I said before, we have just one line of command to run to install all the dependencies at once, and that is the major benefit of the requirements file. Run pip install -r requirements.txt. All dependencies installed. Next, I will run the initial database migrations, and I will do that with this command: python manage.py migrate. That ran successfully, and it means that we configured the database connection settings correctly. Next, we need to create a super user that will manage the application from the admin panel. Create the user with this command: python manage.py create super user. Type the username for your admin user and press enter. I will type John Doe. Type the user's email address and press enter. Type the password for the user and press enter. Repeat the password. I will bypass the password validation by typing Y and press enter. That is done. Back to the guides. Next, we need to tell our application to place the static files in the directory location that we configured in the settings.py file. We will run this command to do that. Python manage.py collect static. The command has created a folder static in the root directory of the application code and copied 132 static files into it. List to see the folder. We need to ignore this folder in the .gitignore file. Otherwise, we will be having some issues when we run git pull command to update the code. So switch back to your code editor and onto your code directory. Open the .gitignore file and put static in it. Save the file. Finally, we can test our project by starting up the Django development server with this command: python manage.py run server, then type 0.0.0.0:8000. This command will start the development server on port 8000 of the IP address of this machine, instead of localhost IP that we use on our local development machine. I will go to my browser, type the IP address of my app server followed by :8000. And here is the moment we have been waiting for: our application running on the production server. I will visit the admin area, log in as the super user I created with create super user command. And this episode has taken a little longer than expected. Let's continue in the next episode.